Ambassador Jack Reynolds adjusted his cufflinks as the diplomatic shuttle docked with the Galactic Council station. He glanced at his security detail, 4 humans in crisp black suits standing at parade rest, looking more like accountants than protectors. "Remember," Jack said, "they're going to stare. Let them. We're here to add Earth to the Council, not start an incident." Commander Liam Dex, Chief of Security, nodded. "My team knows the drill, sir. We'll be invisible until we need to be otherwise." The other 3 security officers, Kai, Maya, and Victor, exchanged knowing glances. This wasn't their first rodeo at an interstellar diplomatic function, but it was certainly the most important. Earth's admission to the Galactic Council would open trade routes and protection agreements that humanity desperately needed. The airlock hissed open, revealing an ornate reception hall filled with representatives from across the galaxy. As expected, each delegation was flanked by heavily armed guards. The insectoid Vespari had sentries with plasma rifles, the reptilian Krasl Empire brought warriors with vibratory blades, and even the peaceful Lumari had security drones hovering over their ambassadors. Then there was the human delegation, 4 unarmed guards in suits. A blue-skinned protocol officer with 4 arms approached, datapad in one hand and scanner in another. "Ambassador Reynolds of Earth, welcome to the Council Station. I am Zen, Chief of Protocol. Please surrender all weapons for the duration of your stay." "We aren't carrying any," Jack replied pleasantly. Zen blinked all 3 of his eyes in sequence. "I'm sorry, perhaps there is a translation error. Your security detail must surrender their weapons." Commander Dex stepped forward. "No translation error. We don't carry weapons to diplomatic functions. It's an Earth custom." The protocol officer looked genuinely distressed, his skin shifting to a paler blue. "But how do you protect your ambassador?" "We manage," Dex said with a smile that revealed nothing. A rumble of conversation spread through the reception hall as other species took notice. Jack could see the whispers, the pointing, the barely concealed derision. "The humans sent naked guards. Are they so primitive they haven't invented proper weapons? Perhaps they're pacifists. Won't last long in this galaxy." An imposing figure cut through the crowd, Ambassador Tulla of the Centauri Confederation, a tall humanoid with golden skin and silver markings along her temples. Unlike the others, she seemed more intrigued than mocking. "Ambassador Reynolds," she greeted, extending both hands palm up in the Centauri gesture of respect. "Your reputation precedes you. Is it true your security carries no weapons whatsoever?" Jack returned the gesture. "Ambassador Tulla, a pleasure. And yes, it's quite true. Fascinating," she mused, studying Commander Dex and his team with undisguised curiosity. "Most species consider it an insult to appear unguarded before the Council. It suggests you don't take the proceedings seriously." "I assure you we take this very seriously," Jack replied. "Perhaps our customs are simply different." From across the hall, a harsh voice cut through the pleasantries. "Different, or arrogant?" A hulking reptilian pushed through the crowd, flanked by 2 guards with ceremonial vibratory blades. Councillor Vrex of the Krasl Empire, notorious for his antagonism toward emerging species. "The council chamber is no place for your primitive posturing," Vrex hissed, scales bristling along his neck. "You insult us by suggesting your unarmed monkeys can protect you here." Commander Dex shifted his weight almost imperceptibly. Maya and Victor subtly repositioned themselves. The movement was minimal, a casual observer would have missed it entirely, but suddenly they had perfect triangulation on Vrex and his guards. Jack maintained his diplomatic smile. "Councillor Vrex, we meant no offense, we simply follow our own protocols." "Your protocols are meaningless here," Vrex sneered, leaning forward until his snout was inches from Jack's face. His breath smelled of rotting meat and sulfur. "In the galactic community, weakness is not tolerated." The tension in the room thickened. Dex's hand remained relaxed at his side, but his eyes had narrowed just slightly. A melodious chime rang through the hall, saving them from escalation. "The council will convene in 10 minutes, announced an automated voice. "All delegations please proceed to the chamber." Vrex pulled back, his vertical pupils constricting with disdain. "We'll see how long your unarmed confidence lasts, human." He stalked away, his guards glaring menacingly over their shoulders. Ambassador Tulla watched them go with evident distaste. "Don't mind Vrex. The Krasl Empire sees everything as a potential conquest. They've been particularly agitated since humans established that outpost near their border." "Wonderful," Jack muttered. "Just what we needed," an interstellar border dispute on our first council appearance. If I may, Tulla offered more quietly, why don't your guards carry weapons? Every other species considers it essential. Jack exchanged a glance with Commander Dex, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Ambassador Tulla, Jack said with a cryptic smile, there's an old saying on Earth, the most dangerous weapon in the room isn't always the one you can see. Tulla's eyes widened slightly. Intriguing. I look forward to our future conversations, Ambassador Reynolds. As they proceeded toward the council chamber, Jack couldn't help but notice how the other delegations kept a careful distance from his security team. Their bewilderment was evident. What kind of species would send defenseless guards to protect their representatives? Little did they know, they were about to find out exactly why human diplomatic security carried no weapons. And the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The Galactic Council chamber resembled a massive amphitheater, with tiered seating arranged in a perfect circle around a central speaking platform. Each section displayed the flag and colors of its respective civilization, creating a dizzying kaleidoscope of alien symbolism. Jack whistled under his breath. Now that's what I call interior decorating. Designed to intimidate new arrivals, Commander Dex murmured. Classic power play, make us feel small. A hovering protocol droid approached. Earth delegation, you are assigned to Section 42, lower tier. New applicants are seated according to their civilization's age of spaceflight capability, which means we're practically in the basement. Jack sighed. Lead the way. As they followed the droid down a series of ramps, Jack couldn't help but notice that the other species' security details were directed to designated areas behind transparent barricades. Guards were being separated from their diplomats. Sir, Dex said quietly. They're segregating security personnel. Expected, Jack replied. Stay with me anyway. When they reached Section 42, indeed at the very bottom of the chamber, another protocol officer intercepted them. Security personnel must take positions in the designated areas, the six-armed official insisted, pointing to a distant barricade where other guards stood. That won't work for us, Jack said pleasantly. Earth protocol requires our security to remain within proximity. The official's eye stalks quivered with irritation. But regulations clearly state, we have no weapons, Dex interrupted, spreading his arms. Scan us if you wish. We're in compliance with the no weapons policy. The official sputtered, antenna twitching in what Jack assumed was the alien equivalent of bureaucratic frustration. After a brief consultation with a superior via communicator, the official relented. Very well, but they must remain behind your seating area at all times. As they settled into their seats, Jack surveyed the chamber. Above them, nearly 100 different species were represented, from the gaseous vaporans who floated in specialized containment fields to the crystalline Xersi, who glittered under the chamber's lights. At the highest tier sat the Founding Seven, the original species who had established the Galactic Council millennia ago. Their representatives wore ornate ceremonial garb, and were flanked by the most heavily armed guards in the chamber. Bit excessive, isn't it? Jack muttered. Politics is theater, Dex replied, especially the interstellar kind. A resonant tone echoed through the chamber, and all conversation ceased. From an elevated platform, a tall willowy figure with metallic skin addressed the assembly. The 4927th session of the Galactic Council is now in session. I, High Counselor Mezek of the Quorum, preside. His voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Today we address petitions for membership, trade disputes, and boundary recognitions. Several hours of mind-numbing procedural matters followed. Jack maintained his diplomatic posture, but he could feel his security team growing restless behind him. Even Dex, usually a statue of patience, shifted occasionally. Finally, Mezek announced, "We now recognize Earth's petition for probationary membership. Ambassador Jack Reynolds will present humanity's case." A small platform extended from the floor in front of Jack's section. As he stepped onto it, it rose smoothly to the central position, placing him in the literal spotlight. "Honorable Council," Jack began. "I come before you representing Earth and humanity's unified government. We seek to join this esteemed body, as partners in galactic peace and mutual prosperity." He launched into his carefully prepared speech, highlighting Earth's technological advances, cultural diversity, and commitment to peaceful expansion. Holographic displays showed Earth's achievements, from quantum computing to environmental restoration. Most council members watched with polite interest, though Jack noticed Vrex's reptilian features twisted in what appeared to be a permanent sneer. As Jack concluded his presentation, High Counselor Mezek nodded. The council acknowledges Earth's petition. Are there questions for the ambassador? Several lights illuminated around the chamber as council members indicated their desire to speak. Mezek recognized a bulbous tentacled being first. Ambassador Reynolds, the alien's translated voice burbled, "Your species has achieved faster than light travel only recently. What assurance can you provide that humans are mature enough for council membership?" Jack fielded this and several similar questions with diplomatic finesse. However, when Mezek recognized Counselor Vrex, the atmosphere chilled noticeably. "Ambassador," Vrex hissed, his voice dripping with disdain, "you speak of peace while your kind establishes military outposts along our borders. Your words ring hollow." "Counselor," Jack replied evenly, "the Arcturus station is a scientific research facility, not a military installation. We've provided all schematics and purpose statements as required by preliminary agreement." "So you claim," Vrex countered. "Yet you refuse to allow Krazul inspectors full access. What are you hiding, human?" "Nothing. We simply follow established protocols for new diplomatic relations." Vrex's scales flushed a darker green. "And speaking of protocols, let us address the slithering worm in the room. Your security detail bears no weapons in this chamber. Do you mock our traditions?" A murmur rippled through the assembly. Jack could feel hundreds of alien eyes fixed on him and his security team. "We respect your traditions, Counselor," Jack said carefully. "Earth simply has different security approaches." "Different? Or deceptive?" Vrex stood, pointing a clawed finger. "I motion that the human guards be subjected to full molecular scanning. They must be carrying concealed weapons, or biological enhancements." The chamber erupted in chatter. Enhanced bioweapons were strictly prohibited by council law. The suggestion was tantamount to accusing Earth of smuggling illegal weapons into the council chamber. High Counselor Mezek raised a metallic hand for silence. "This is an unusual request during a membership petition, Counselor Vrex." "These are unusual circumstances," Vrex insisted. "No species would send truly unarmed guards unless they had something to hide." Jack maintained his composure, though he could feel a headache forming. "My security detail will submit to any reasonable scanning, High Counselor. We have nothing to hide." Behind him, Commander Dex and his team stood perfectly still, faces expressionless. Ambassador Tulla's voice cut through the tension. "This is highly irregular and potentially insulting to our guests. The humans have complied with all entry protocols." "I concur," added another council member, a hovering being composed of interlocking geometric shapes. "The Krazul Empire's paranoia should not dictate our proceedings." Vrex's tail lashed behind him. "Paranoia? When they establish bases on our borders? When they come before us with hidden capabilities?" High Counselor Mezek considered for a moment. In the interest of transparency, a standard security scan would not be inappropriate. "Ambassador Reynolds, would you and your detail consent to this?" Jack nodded. "Of course, High Counselor." A team of security droids approached, surrounding Jack and his team with scanning equipment. Green lights washed over them repeatedly. After several minutes, the lead droid reported, "Scan complete. No weapons detected. No unregistered technology. No biological enhancements beyond standard medical implants." Vrex looked genuinely bewildered. "Impossible. No one sends unarmed guards." "We just did," Jack replied with a slight smile. "As I said, Earth has different approaches to security." High Counselor Mezek's metallic features shifted in what might have been amusement. "It appears the humans are indeed unarmed, Counselor Vrex. Your concern has been addressed. Let us continue with—" A thunderous explosion interrupted him, rocking the entire chamber. Warning lights flashed red across the ceiling. Emergency blast doors began descending around the chamber's exits. "Security breach in Docking Bay 7, announced an automated system. All council members remain in your positions. Security protocols engaged." Through the confusion, Jack spotted movement at the upper levels, a group of reptilians in unmarked armor storming through a service entrance, weapons raised. "Sir," Dex said calmly, moving closer to Jack, "I believe the council meeting just got interesting." Jack sighed. "So much for making a good first impression." Chaos erupted in the council chamber. Diplomats dove for cover as the intruders, a dozen reptilian figures in matte black armor, rappelled down from the upper tiers. They moved with military precision, deploying sonic disruptors that immediately neutralized the guards stationed behind the security barricades. Krazul separatists, Ambassador Tulla shouted over the commotion. Radical faction. Jack watched in disbelief as the Council's elaborate security systems failed spectacularly. The guards who had been so proudly displaying their impressive weapons now lay incapacitated, their high-tech armaments rendered useless by whatever countermeasures the attackers had deployed. Security protocols have betrayed us, wailed a gelatinous counselor, its translucent body quivering with fear. The weapon-dampening fields are working against our own guards. Commander Dex and his team had immediately moved to surround Jack, forming a human barrier. Unlike the alien guards, they showed no signs of distress or panic, just focused alertness. Analysis. Jack asked quietly. 12 tangos, military-grade armor, sonic weapons designed to incapacitate without killing, Dex reported calmly, as though discussing the weather. They knew exactly how to neutralize the Council's security measures. Inside job, almost certainly. The lead attacker reached the central platform and activated a voice amplifier. Attention Galactic Council, I am Commander Thrax of the True Krazul Liberation Front. This chamber is now under our control. High Counselor Mezek rose to his full height, his metallic skin reflecting the emergency lights. This is an outrage. You violate the most sacred. A sonic pulse hit Mezek mid-sentence, dropping him to his knees. The chamber fell silent. The Krazul Empire has suffered under Council restrictions for too long, Thrax announced. Today we negotiate new terms with you as our leverage. Jack noticed Counselor Vrex, looking genuinely shocked. Apparently, this wasn't his doing. Sir, Maya whispered, we need to move you to a more defensible position. Jack shook his head slightly. We stay put. Don't draw attention. Too late. One of the attackers had noticed the human delegation, specifically, the 4 security officers who remained standing, while all other guards lay incapacitated. Commander, the attacker called out. The humans are unaffected. Thrax turned his reptilian gaze toward Section 42. Interesting. The newest petitioners. He descended from the central platform, flanked by 2 guards, and approached Jack's delegation. Ambassador Reynolds, correct? Thrax's voice had an oily quality. How fortunate that your first council meeting is so memorable. I'd prefer boring diplomacy, if it's all the same to you, Jack replied evenly. Thrax's scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. Your guards appear to be the only ones still functioning. How curious. Nothing curious about it, Jack said. They're not affected by your sonic weapons, because they carry no weapons to be affected. The reptilian commander circled them slowly, studying Dex and his team with obvious suspicion. No species sends unarmed guards to protect diplomats. It defies logic. Human logic works differently. Jack shrugged. Thrax barked a harsh laugh. Indeed, your species is young and naive, but convenient for my purposes. He gestured to his soldiers. Bring the human and his guards to the central platform. They will be our first negotiation piece. As 2 of the attackers approached, Commander Dex and his team remained absolutely still, their faces blank masks of professional indifference. To any observer, they appeared utterly harmless. Just 4 humans in suits with empty hands and relaxed postures. Jack allowed himself to be escorted to the central platform, his security detail following closely. Around the chamber, council members watched with a mixture of fear and fascination. Now then, Thrax announced, addressing the entire council, our demands are simple. The Krazul Empire will be granted unrestricted access to the Gamma Quadrant wormholes, exemption from antimatter production treaties, and removal of all monitoring stations along our borders. From his position on the floor, High Counselor Mezek managed to speak. The council does not negotiate under duress. The peacekeeping fleet will be here within hours, by which time we'll be gone, Thrax replied. With hostages. Starting with, he turned to Jack, Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. Poetic, don't you think? Jack maintained his diplomat's smile. If you're trying to intimidate Earth by taking me hostage, you've dramatically miscalculated. Oh, Thrax leaned closer, his reptilian breath hot on Jack's face. And why is that, Ambassador? Because, Jack said calmly, you've made 3 critical mistakes. First, you assumed Council security would protect everyone. Second, you assumed unarmed meant harmless. He paused deliberately. And third, you got within arm's reach of Commander Dex. Thrax's pupils narrowed in confusion. What are you? He never finished the sentence. With a movement almost too fast to follow, Dex's hand shot out, striking Thrax's throat at precisely the point where scales met softer tissue. The reptilian commander's eyes bulged as his air supply was suddenly, efficiently compromised. The chamber froze in shocked silence. One of Thrax's guards raised his sonic disruptor, but Maya was already in motion. She slipped off her suit jacket, wrapped it around her forearm, and deflected the weapon upward as it discharged. In the same fluid movement, she drove her knee into an unarmored connection point in the attacker's leg armor. The crack of breaking exoskeleton echoed through the chamber. The second guard swung his weapon like a club, but Kai simply caught it, twisted it from the guard's grip, and used the attacker's momentum to flip him completely over. The reptilian hit the ground with enough force to crack the ceremonial floor tiles. Defense positions, Dex ordered calmly, as the remaining attackers realized what was happening. Across the chamber, the separatists raised their weapons, but the human security team had already dispersed, moving with startling speed and coordination. Victor vaulted over a railing, landing beside a cluster of 3 attackers. Rather than engaging them directly, he grabbed a ceremonial staff from a wall display and swept it in a wide arc, knocking all 3 off their feet in a single motion. Maya had somehow acquired a pitcher of water from a diplomatic refreshment station. As 2 attackers charged her, she splashed the water across the floor and then kicked over an electronic translator podium. The resulting electrical short created a localized shock that dropped both reptilians, their wet scales conducting the current perfectly. Kai, meanwhile, had commandeered one of the floating camera drones used for council recording. Somehow he'd reprogrammed it in seconds, sending it careening into a group of attackers trying to reach the upper levels. The drone exploded in a shower of harmless but disorienting sparks. At the center of it all was Dex, who had positioned himself between the recovering Thrax and Ambassador Reynolds. As Thrax lunged with a vibro dagger pulled from a hidden sheath, Dex simply sidestepped, caught the reptilian's arm and applied pressure to a specific point. The dagger clattered to the floor along with Thrax, who howled in agony. "You broke my arm," the separatist leader snarled. "Dislocated," Dex corrected calmly. "Less paperwork." The entire council watched in stunned silence as 4 unarmed humans systematically dismantled a dozen heavily armed separatists. Not a single shot was fired by the human team. They simply used their surroundings, their bodies, and the attackers' own weapons against them. In under 3 minutes, all 12 attackers were incapacitated, their weapons collected in a neat pile on the central platform. Jack straightened his tie, which had become slightly askew during the commotion, and turned to address the staring council members. "High Counselor Mezek, I believe we were discussing Earth's petition for membership. Unless there are further interruptions, I'd be happy to continue answering questions." The chamber remained in shocked silence, hundreds of alien eyes fixed on the human delegation. Even Counselor Vrex appeared speechless, his reptilian jaw hanging open. High Counselor Mezek slowly rose to his feet, his metallic features rearranging themselves into what might have been an expression of bemused respect. "I believe," Mezek said carefully, "that the Council would be most interested in hearing why human diplomatic guards carry no weapons." Jack smiled. "I thought you'd never ask." "I suppose I should apologize for the interruption," Jack said, adjusting his cufflinks as though they'd merely experienced a minor scheduling conflict rather than a terrorist attack. "Not the first impression we hoped to make." The council chamber remained in stunned silence. Security droids had arrived to take the groaning separatists into custody while medical teams attended to injured council members. Throughout it all, Commander Dex and his team had resumed their positions behind Jack, looking for all the world like they hadn't just incapacitated a dozen armed terrorists with their bare hands. High Counselor Mezek was the first to recover his composure. "Ambassador Reynolds, I believe you owe this council an explanation. About the separatists, I assure you Earth had nothing to do with." "About your security detail," Mezek interrupted, his metallic features reflecting the emergency lights still flashing above. "What we just witnessed was unprecedented." Jack glanced at Dex, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "Well, High Counselor, the explanation is quite simple. Throughout human history we've learned one critical lesson: the most dangerous weapon in any room isn't the one you can see, it's the one you don't. "Speak plainly, Ambassador," demanded Counselor Vrex, who had emerged from behind an overturned bench. His previous arrogance had been replaced by something approaching wary respect. "Very well," Jack gestured to his team. "Commander Dex, perhaps a demonstration is in order. Something educational for our new friends." Dex stepped forward, his posture relaxed but commanding. "With the Council's permission." High Counselor Mezek hesitated, then nodded. "Proceed, but carefully." Dex turned to the assembled council. "Esteemed representatives, what you witnessed was not special technology or biological enhancement. It was simply standard training for Earth's diplomatic security service." He picked up one of the confiscated sonic disruptors. "This weapon is rendered useless by your security protocols. So we ask ourselves, why carry something that can be taken away or neutralized?" With casual precision, Dex disassembled the weapon in seconds, laying the components on the central platform. "Instead, we train to use whatever is available." He picked up a ceremonial pen from the speaker's podium. "This writing implement becomes a pressure point weapon." He demonstrated a grip. "This datapad becomes a shield." He held up a council member's abandoned tablet. "This decorative cord becomes a restraint." Maya stepped forward, holding her suit jacket. "Clothing can deflect energy weapons, blind opponents, or create improvised tools." She folded the jacket in seconds, creating a tight, rigid shape that she used to effortlessly deflect a thrust from Kai's arm. Victor picked up a pitcher of water. "Even refreshments are tactical resources. Water conducts electricity, creates slippery surfaces, and can temporarily blind opponents." Kai held up what appeared to be a simple stylus. "And when you've spent your life studying how to transform everyday objects into weapons, you never enter a room unarmed, even when you're technically carrying nothing classified as a weapon." Ambassador Tulla leaned forward, clearly fascinated. "Are all humans trained this way?" Jack chuckled. "Goodness, no. Only our specialized security personnel undergo this training. It's quite intensive, 3 years minimum before they're allowed to protect diplomats." "But without weapons," began a confused octopoid counselor. "That's where you misunderstand," Dex interrupted politely. "We don't carry weapons because we don't need to. We are the weapons." A murmur spread through the chamber. "Perhaps a clearer demonstration," Jack suggested. He surveyed the chamber and spotted a Krazul guard who had regained consciousness and was being held by security droids. "That one. He's approximately twice Commander Dex's size and mass, I'd estimate." The reptilian guard snarled as the droids brought him forward. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with armored scales and powerful limbs, he dwarfed Dex's 6-foot human frame. "This is Commander Gruz," Counselor Vrex identified him. "One of our elite warriors. Even unarmed, he could snap your commander in half." "Care to test that theory?" Jack asked pleasantly. Vrex's eyes narrowed. "What do you propose?" "A controlled demonstration. Your warrior against Commander Dex. No weapons, no permanent injury. Just a practical illustration of our security philosophy." The council chamber buzzed with excitement. Mezek looked uncertain. "This is highly irregular." "So is taking the council hostage," Jack countered. "Consider it a cultural exchange." After a brief consultation with other senior council members, Mezek nodded reluctantly. "Very well. A controlled demonstration only." The security droids released Gruz, who rolled his massive shoulders and bared his teeth at Dex. "I will enjoy breaking you, soft skin." Dex removed his suit jacket and handed it to Maya. He wore a simple white shirt underneath, his lean physique notably less imposing than the reptilian's muscled bulk. "Central platform only," Mezek instructed. "The moment I call for cessation, it ends immediately." Dex nodded and stepped into the circular space. Gruz followed, towering over the human. The entire council leaned forward in their seats. "Begin," declared Mezek. Gruz lunged immediately, clawed hands reaching for Dex's throat. To the council's astonishment, the human didn't move until the very last second, when he shifted slightly to one side. The reptilian's momentum carried him forward, as Dex pivoted, using just 2 fingers to redirect Gruz's center of balance. The massive warrior stumbled, nearly falling before catching himself. "Lucky dodge," Gruz snarled, circling more cautiously. "Efficiency of movement," Dex corrected. You're expending approximately 6 times the energy I am. This observation seemed to enrage Gruz, who launched into a series of powerful strikes. Dex evaded each one with minimal movement, occasionally using gentle taps to redirect the reptilian's attacks. "Is he going to fight back?" asked an impatient counselor. "He already is," Jack replied. "Just watch." Indeed, despite landing no obvious blows, Dex had maneuvered Gruz into increasingly frustrated, energy-draining attacks. The reptilian's breathing had become labored, while Dex remained calm and composed. "Stop playing and fight," Gruz roared, launching a powerful tail sweep. Dex finally engaged directly. He stepped inside Gruz's guard, placed his hands in precise positions on the reptilian's arm and shoulder, and applied what appeared to be gentle pressure. Gruz immediately froze, his face contorting in pain. "This is a nerve junction manipulation," Dex explained to the council as casually as if delivering a lecture. "Your species has 17 major nerve clusters where neural signals can be temporarily disrupted. I'm currently affecting 3 of them." "Impossible," gasped Vrex. "Our warriors train to resist pain." "This isn't about pain," Dex replied. "It's about biomechanics." He shifted his fingers slightly, and Gruz dropped to his knees, completely immobilized, despite no visible restraints. "Every species has vulnerabilities in their physical structure," Dex continued. "Humans have studied comparative xenobiology extensively. Your scales provide excellent protection against weapons, but they also create pressure points at each connecting seam." With a final gentle movement, Dex released Gruz, who collapsed onto the platform, breathing heavily but otherwise unharmed. "The demonstration is concluded," Dex announced, straightening his shirt. The council chamber erupted in excited chatter. Many representatives were sending urgent messages on their communication devices. Others were staring at the human delegation with new eyes, some fearful, others intrigued. High Counselor Mezek raised his hands for silence. "Ambassador Reynolds, your demonstration is informative, but also concerning. You've essentially told us that your security personnel can turn anything into a weapon and can neutralize even elite warriors without conventional armaments." "That's correct," Jack confirmed cheerfully. "And there are thousands more just like them on Earth. What prevents you from using these skills for assassination rather than protection?" asked a suspicious counselor. "The same thing that prevents you from using your plasma rifles for murder instead of defense," Jack replied. "Ethics, training and oversight. Commander Dex could have killed every one of those separatists but chose not to. That restraint is the most important part of their training." Maya stepped forward. "Our primary directive is protection through minimum necessary force. Lethal action is always the last resort." Kai added, "We're trained to incapacitate, not eliminate. It's actually harder to subdue without serious injury, which is why our training is so extensive. And more importantly," Victor concluded, "we're accountable for every action we take. Unlike a weapon malfunction, we can't blame our tools when things go wrong." The council chamber had grown thoughtfully quiet. Even Counselor Vrex seemed to be considering their words carefully. Jack smiled. "Now about Earth's petition for membership." High Counselor Mezek held up a hand. "I believe we need to recess and process what we've witnessed today. The council will reconvene tomorrow to continue deliberations on Earth's petition." As the council members filed out, many cast lingering glances at the human security team. Ambassador Tula approached Jack with an expression of open admiration. "You've certainly made an impression, Ambassador Reynolds," she said. "Though I suspect not the one you originally intended." Jack shrugged. "First contact rarely goes according to plan. The council will be debating for hours," she confided. "Some are terrified, others impressed, but none will forget what they saw today." "And what did you see?" Jack asked curiously. Tula's lips curved into a smile. "The future of galactic security, I believe. And a species far more formidable than they first appeared." As they exited the chamber, Commander Dex fell into step beside Jack. "Diplomatic mission accomplished, sir." "Well, we didn't start an interstellar war, so I'm counting it as a win," Jack replied. "Though I suspect our membership application just got a lot more complicated." Dex's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. "They wanted to know why we don't carry weapons. And now they do," Jack said. "God help them all." Ambassador Jack Reynolds sat in the Earth delegation's temporary quarters aboard the Council station, nursing a glass of what the aliens assured him was close enough to scotch to merit the name. It tasted more like liquid smoke mixed with furniture polish, but after the day he'd had, it did the trick. Well, that could have gone better, he mused to Commander Dex, who stood by the viewport watching the stars. Actually, sir, I'd argue it went perfectly, Dex replied. Perfect? Jack raised an eyebrow. We were supposed to make a calm, reasoned case for Earth's membership. Instead, we turned the Council session into an action holovid. With all due respect, Ambassador, you know as well as I do that first impressions in galactic politics are rarely about what you say. Dex turned from the viewport. They're about what you demonstrate. Jack sighed. And we just demonstrated that humans are dangerous. We demonstrated that humans are capable, Dex corrected. There's a difference. The door chimed, and Maya entered, datapad in hand. Sir, you're going to want to see this. We're trending on the Galactic Infonet. We're what? Jack took the datapad and scrolled through the headlines. Unarmed humans neutralize Krezel elite forces. Earth security. The new galactic standard. Are humans themselves the weapons? Council debates. Well, Jack said after a moment. That's something. It gets better, Maya continued. We've received formal requests from 17 species asking about security training exchanges. The Lumari defense minister personally requested a consultation with our team. Victor and Kai entered, carrying more datapads. The Council Security Office wants to interview us about our techniques, Kai reported. And the Centauri Confederation has offered Earth an expedited trade agreement, independent of Council membership. Ambassador Tula is behind that one, Victor added. She seems quite impressed. Jack set down his alien scotch. So our diplomatic disaster is turning into a public relations windfall. Essentially, Dex confirmed with the faintest hint of a smile. Another chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal High Counselor Mezek, his metallic features somehow conveying both authority and curiosity. Ambassador Reynolds, Mezek said. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all, High Counselor. Jack gestured to a seat. Though I'm surprised to see you here. I expected we'd be summoned to another formal session. This visit is unofficial. Mezek settled into the offered chair, his jointed limbs folding with precise movements. The Council is in upheaval after today's events. I thought it prudent to understand more about humanity before tomorrow's deliberations. What would you like to know? Jack asked. Why don't you carry weapons? Mezek asked bluntly. The real reason, not the diplomatic version. Jack exchanged glances with Dex, who nodded slightly. The real reason is simple, High Counselor. Humanity spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. We became so good at it that we nearly destroyed ourselves several times. Jack stood and paced the room. 200 years ago, we had weapons that could vaporize entire cities. 100 years ago, we developed nanites that could disassemble matter at the molecular level. 50 years ago, we created bioweapons that could target specific genetic markers. Yet you survived, Mezek observed. We did, because we realized something crucial. The problem wasn't the weapons, it was us. Jack paused by the viewport. So we changed our approach. Instead of building bigger weapons, we started building better people. Dex stepped forward. Earth's diplomatic security service was born from that philosophy. We train our bodies and minds to be precise instruments rather than blunt forces. We learn to end conflicts with minimum harm, not maximum damage. A demonstration might help, Jack suggested. He picked up a stylus from the table. High Counselor, would you say this is a weapon? Mezek studied the writing tool. No, it's a simple writing implement. Jack handed it to Dex, who held it between two fingers. Commander, in a fluid motion, Dex flipped the stylus and drove it halfway into the table, where it quivered like a dart. In trained hands, anything can be a weapon. Or, he retrieved the stylus and used it to quickly sketch something on a datapad before passing it to Mezek. The High Counselor looked down to see a perfect rendering of the Council chamber, complete with detailed security vulnerabilities highlighted, or a tool for protection. Dex finished. The difference isn't in the object, it's in the intention and training of the person using it. I see, Mezek said quietly, and this philosophy extends beyond your security forces. It's becoming our species' approach to the galaxy, Jack confirmed. We've learned that the most dangerous weapon isn't the biggest or the flashiest, it's the one you don't recognize until it's too late. Maya stepped forward. High Counselor, if I may. At Mezik's nod, she continued, our training begins with a simple exercise. Each cadet is placed in an empty room and told to identify every possible weapon. Most fail the first time, Kai added. They point out furniture, fixtures, maybe personal items. The correct answer, Victor concluded, is everything. The floor can trip an opponent. The air can be used to create pressure differentials. Even darkness and light can be weapons if you understand how to use them. Mezik's metallic features shifted in what might have been concern. You're describing a species that sees weapons everywhere. No, Jack corrected gently. We're describing a species that sees potential everywhere. The same knowledge that lets us turn anything into a weapon also lets us turn anything into a tool, a solution, or a bridge. He gestured to the stars outside the viewport. That's what we offer the Galactic Council, not our weapons or our strength, but our perspective. We've spent our history learning, often the hard way, how to transform threats into opportunities. Mezik was silent for a long moment, his crystalline eyes reflecting the starlight. Earlier today, your security team could have killed those separatists. Easily, Dex confirmed. Yet you chose not to. Killing is easy, Dex said. Any species can build a weapon that kills, creating solutions that preserve life. That's the real challenge. And that, Jack added, is the philosophy behind our unarmed diplomatic security. Not because we can't carry weapons, but because we've evolved beyond needing them. Mezek stood, his height impressive even in the spacious quarters. Ambassador Reynolds, I've lived for 3 centuries, and represented the Council for nearly half that time. In all those years, I've never encountered a species quite like humanity. I'll take that as a compliment, Jack smiled. It may not be, Mezek replied, though his tone held no hostility. What I witnessed today has convinced me of one thing. Humanity is indeed ready for the galactic community, but I'm not certain the galactic community is ready for humanity. That sounds ominous, Jack said. On the contrary, evolution requires disruption, Ambassador. The Council has grown complacent, relying on technology and traditions that may no longer serve us. Mezek moved toward the door. Tomorrow's session will be interesting. After the High Counselor departed, Jack turned to his team. Well, that was cryptic. Actually, sir, Dex said. I think it was quite clear. We're about to change the Council's approach to security, and possibly much more. All because we showed up without guns, Jack marveled, shaking his head. Sometimes I think the universe has a twisted sense of humor. Or perhaps, Commander Dex suggested, it simply appreciates irony. Later that evening, as the Council station's artificial night cycle dimmed the lights, Jack found himself unable to sleep. The events of the day kept replaying in his mind, not just the attack and its aftermath, but the looks on the alien representatives' faces when they realized what humanity truly represented. He pulled up the security footage from the Council chamber on his datapad, specifically the moment when Dex had disarmed the first attacker. Slowing the playback to quarter speed, he could barely follow the humans' movements. To the aliens watching in real time, it must have seemed like magic. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. It was from Ambassador Tulla. Ambassador Reynolds, the message read, I thought you should know that the Council Security Committee has been in emergency session for the past 6 hours. The topic, a complete overhaul of our defensive protocols with a focus on what they're calling the human approach. Congratulations, you've terrified and inspired the most powerful governing body in the galaxy, all without firing a shot. Perhaps that was your plan all along. Jack smiled as he composed his reply. Not a plan, Ambassador Tulla. Just an unavoidable demonstration of an old Earth saying, the pen is mightier than the sword, especially when you know 17 ways to use it as one. Ambassador Jack Reynolds adjusted his formal diplomatic attire as he prepared for the Council's final session on Earth's membership petition. After yesterday's dramatic events, the station buzzed with whispers whenever humans passed by. The Galactic Infonet had been flooded with footage of Commander Dex and his team neutralizing the Krasl separatists. Unarmed humans defeating armed terrorists had become the most viewed recording in Council history. Ready for the grand finale, sir? Dex asked, standing at parade rest beside the door to their quarters. As ready as anyone can be after accidentally turning a membership petition into a martial arts demonstration, Jack replied with a wry smile. Any predictions? Several, actually. But I suspect High Counselor Mezek has already made up his mind. When they entered the repaired council chamber, Jack noticed immediate differences. The security presence had doubled, but more strikingly, every guard now maintained a respectful distance from the human delegation. The chamber fell into hushed silence as Jack and his team took their places in Section 42. High Counselor Mezek called the session to order, his metallic features catching the light as he addressed the assembly. Before we continue with Earth's petition, the Security Committee has drafted an emergency amendment to Council protocols regarding diplomatic security. Mezek gestured to a hovering display. The resolution has been approved unanimously. The text materialized in multiple languages. Council Resolution 47392B. Regarding specialized training classification, whereas the recent incident has demonstrated previously unclassified security capabilities, whereas standard weapon detection systems prove inadequate for certain biologically enhanced personnel, be it resolved that all diplomatic security staff trained in advanced unarmed combat techniques shall henceforth register as Category 7 security assets, wear designated identification markers at all official functions, disclose full training protocols upon request. This resolution specifically addresses human diplomatic security personnel and any entities utilizing similar methodologies. Jack suppressed a chuckle. They'd essentially just classified his security team as walking weapons. Ambassador Reynolds, Mezek continued, as the representative of Earth, do you accept these terms? Jack stepped onto the central platform. High Counselor, Earth accepts these reasonable precautions. However, I would point out that our security personnel are not biologically enhanced as the resolution suggests. They're simply well-trained. A blue-skinned diplomat from the Andorian Confederation rose. Ambassador Reynolds, with all respect, we witnessed your commander disable a Krasl elite warrior with 2 fingers. If that's not enhancement, what would you call it? Practice, Jack replied simply. Lots and lots of practice. This earned nervous laughter from some delegations and concerned murmurs from others. Councillor Vrex, notably more subdued than yesterday, addressed the chamber. The Krasl Empire proposes an additional amendment. Human security personnel should be required to carry visible weapons like all other species. This invisibility of threat creates unnecessary tension. Are you suggesting, Jack asked with perfectly innocent curiosity, that you would feel safer if my unarmed guards carried weapons? Yes, Vrex hissed. At least then we would know what we're facing. Ambassador Tulla rose, her golden skin gleaming under the chamber lights. I believe what my esteemed colleague is trying to say, somewhat inelegantly, is that human security methodology has disrupted established norms. By carrying no weapons, you appear defenseless, which we now know is fundamentally deceptive. There's nothing deceptive about it, Commander Dex interjected, stepping forward with Jack's permission. We openly declared our status. The Council simply made assumptions based on its own expectations. High Counselor Mezek raised a metallic hand. This philosophical debate, while fascinating, does not address the practical concern. The resolution includes Provision 2, identification markers. Ambassador Reynolds, would Earth accept wearing such identifiers? Jack nodded. We have no objection to identification, High Counselor, though I find it somewhat ironic that my security personnel must now wear special markers to identify them as dangerous, while those carrying plasma rifles need no such designation. This observation sent ripples of uncomfortable recognition through the chamber. Very well, Mezek declared. The Security Committee has prepared appropriate identifiers. A protocol droid approached, carrying small silver pins. Commander Dex and his team each received one. Elegant designs that resembled a stylized human hand. These contain no tracking technology, Mezek assured them. They simply identify trained personnel to other security forces. Dex examined his pin with a raised eyebrow. May I ask who designed these? The committee consulted historical Earth imagery, Mezek explained. We believe the open hand symbolizes both peace and potential. It's perfect, Jack acknowledged, watching his team affix the pins. Now about Earth's petition. High Counselor Mezek's features shifted into what Jack had come to recognize as the alien equivalent of a smile. That matter has been settled. After yesterday's events, the Council voted during emergency session. Earth's petition for probationary membership has been approved. Surprised murmurs spread through the chamber. Jack hadn't expected such a rapid decision. That's unexpected, Jack admitted. May I ask what influenced the Council's decision? Ambassador Tulla rose again. If I may, High Counselor. The vote wasn't even close, Ambassador Reynolds. Your demonstration yesterday made two things abundantly clear. First, humanity brings unique capabilities the Council hasn't encountered before. And second, she glanced at the Separatists' damaged equipment still being catalogued by investigators. We'd rather have you inside our alliance than outside it. Polite diplomatic laughter rippled through the chamber, though Jack detected the nervous undertone. As the formal proceedings concluded, various delegations approached to offer congratulations. Jack noticed several diplomats studying his security team with newfound interest, some even requesting demonstrations of their techniques. One particularly bold diplomat from the crystalline Xerxes approached Commander Dex directly. Is it true humans train from childhood to turn their bodies into weapons? Not exactly, Dex replied. Most humans go their entire lives without this training. Those of us who serve in diplomatic security undergo specialized instruction, but without modifications, the crystalline being pressed, purely biological capabilities. Just the standard human package, Dex confirmed. 2 arms, 2 legs, and a creative mind. The diplomat's crystalline structure shimmered with what might have been disbelief. Fascinating. My government would be interested in a cultural exchange program. As they prepared to depart the chamber, High Counselor Mezek intercepted them at the exit. Ambassador Reynolds, a final word. Of course, High Counselor. Mezek glanced at the silver pins now adorning the human security team. You understand why these were necessary, don't you? Politics, Jack suggested. Perception, Mezek corrected. The Council relies on visible displays of strength. Your approach, invisible capability, disrupts the established order. Sometimes disruption is necessary for progress, Jack countered. Indeed, Mezek's voice lowered. Between us, Ambassador, several Council members have already requested training exchanges with Earth's security forces. You've started something that cannot be undone. Evolution requires disruption. Jack quoted Mezek's words from the previous night. Precisely, the High Counselor's metallic features shifted subtly. Though I have one personal request, if I may. Name it. When your delegation visits Council headquarters on Centauri Prime next month, Mezek's voice held a hint of what might have been humor. Please at least carry something that looks like a weapon so the other diplomats can feel better. Jack laughed. I'll see what we can do, High Counselor. As they boarded their diplomatic shuttle for the return journey, Commander Dex examined his new identification pin. So we're officially classified as weapons now, he remarked. That's a first for diplomatic relations. Better get used to it, Jack replied, looking out at the stars. I suspect this is just the beginning of the galaxy learning why human diplomatic guards carry no weapons to meetings. Because we don't need them, Maya suggested. Jack smiled. No, because we've learned the greatest weapon isn't the one you carry, it's the one you are. As the shuttle detached from the station, Jack couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Earth had come seeking admission to the galactic community as equals. Instead, they'd earned something far more valuable, respect, and all it had taken was showing up unarmed.